So what we're about to see then, something rather unusual, an aerobatic display from a twin turboprop transport in the hands of a crew from the Italian Air Force Flight Test Centre, the Reparto Sperimentale Volo, based at Pratica di Mare, not that far from Rome. It'll be a pretty short takeoff to start the display. And the short takeoff in question being performed by the Alenia C-27J Spartan. During this display. Very impressive angle of climb just after getting airborne there. The aircraft is held down over the runway just to get some more energy, and that energy bleeds off around about 500 feet. You would have seen the bump forward just to control the indicator airspeed at that point. The C-27J, a much developed version of the earlier Air Italia G222, from which we saw some very impressive demonstrations at Air Tattoo's past. Well, if anything, the C-27J has surpassed even that. And there's another aircraft that, in Italian hands, has seen a great deal of service in Afghanistan. Now positioning for a very unorthodox manoeuvre for a transport aircraft. There you have it, the first of a couple of rolls in the course of this display. The engine's two Rolls-Royce A2100E2 turboprops of just over 4,600 shaft horsepower each. The original rationale behind the C-27J was an advanced development of the earlier G222 to provide commonality with the C-130J Hercules, notably in terms of the engines and the glass cockpit. And it's proved a very popular aircraft around the world. Apart from Italy, other customers, including the US military for the Army, winning the joint US Army, US Air Force joint cargo aircraft deal. Also Bulgaria, Greece, Lithuania, who have an example in the static display here, Morocco, Romania and Slovakia. Now more aerobatics from the C-27J coming up into a loop. At 250 knots, 800 feet. The Italian Air Force took on their first C-27Js in October 2006. They use it as a tactical troop and cargo transport. It wasn't long before they were serving in Afghanistan. The type's first deployment there beginning in December 2008. of that so-called derry turn, the aircraft now positioning in from our right for the knife edge pass and mark another manoeuvre not regularly seen in a transport aircraft display, and a lot of crew cooperation required in a sequence such as this.
Yeah, absolutely, and the crew cooperation of this starts from when the aircraft is designed. The tail area of a large aircraft like this is incredibly susceptible to high loads. Most large aircraft have an angle of attack somewhere in the region of about 40 degrees. This aircraft is something much stronger. We must also remember that this is not just an air show spectacular. This has practical applications in the military environment. Large aircraft are very susceptible to fighter aircraft attack, and if attacked by a fighter aircraft, you only have to really jam them and prevent them from getting a firing solution for a few minutes to run the fighter out of either out of interest or out of fuel before it leaves you alone. I'd much rather be in an aircraft like this than one with less maneuver capability.
And now we see some more of that military capability in evidence on the next pass. The slowest run in the display, 110 knots, and down to 500 feet for what the crew calls the airdrop pass. Undercarriage coming down, and I expect to see the rear loading ramp on the C-27J open as well. Aerobatic capabilities and won several of the flying display trophies at the Air Tattoo in recent years. Heading the crew from the Reparto Sperimentale Volo of this year's display is Captain Fabio Di Michele. He's been displaying the aircraft since the start of 2012. In total, Fabio has around 2,000 hours on all types and 300 of those on the Spartan. Now we see the C-27J positioning in front of us for the so-called roll under. Once again, we'll be seeing him rolling one way, there we go, and in the end turning the other. Seeing the aircraft coming in to land from the opposite direction to most of the landings today, so downwind. And here again, the military capabilities of the design will be much in evidence, because we'll see the aircraft positioned quite high above the runway before coming in for a very steep approach, best known perhaps as the Khe-Sanh approach, as employed initially by the Americans in Vietnam. The rationale here, of course, is to keep the aircraft out of the vicinity of small arms fire that may be located around the airfield for as long as possible, so the aircraft remains at altitude until crossing the airfield boundary and getting to the runway. Then the nose comes steeply down and the aircraft comes in for a short tactical landing with reverse being applied on the engines. Also known as the Sarajevo approach from its application in that city during the Bosnian conflict of the 1990s. found there a nice touch with the flags from Major Fabio Di Michele and his crew from the Italian Air Force Flight Test Centre, completing their sequence on the Alenia C-27J Spartan. Meanwhile, down at the right-hand end of the German ADC-3 turns to the runway, so the Spartan slot. So down the left-hand end, George, you see the Army Air Force contribution to the Spartan program.
Yeah, it's not very often you see three aircraft positioning on the runway all at the same time, is it? It's quite an unusual thing. But yes, we're going to do something rather different now, and if you haven't seen the Army Air Force links there about it today before, then prepare to be somewhat surprised and amazed, because it is an extraordinary display, and indeed still the only UK aerobatic helicopter display on the market. But sadly, this year could well be the very last year of this display, because the Mark 2 goes out of service early in 2015 to be replaced by the new Wildcat design. That was just a vessel. Now, we have seen the Wildcat out on the circuit already this year, with one half of the black caps pairing, and it's just holding for a moment now. I'm told by the